Hello everyone and welcome to an incredible game, or rather should I say games, that come as a suggestion from Goran Martic, so thank you for that. It's really an impressive one, and I was first very confused when he suggested this game, because when I tried to find it in the database I found a similar game, only after some 20 moves were played, the game goes in a different direction. Then I realized that there are actually two games between these two gentlemen played in the same year, 1860 in Breslau, or maybe one was in 1859, the other one was in 1860, but no one really knows. However, both of them are incredible, and it seems that here Adolf Anderssen, who you guys know very well, especially if you've been following the Morphy saga, he is, most of you, if you've only been following the Morphy saga, know him as the final boss of the Morphy saga, but he's actually an incredible guy himself. He is the man who created the original Immortal game. After that, you know, every spectacular game was deemed the title Immortal. Also, he is the creator of the Evergreen game, which you guys have seen either by him playing it or maybe in the game between Magnus Carlsen and Max Deutsch. So he's a very well-known gentleman, and he's playing against the German master Berthold Schulle, who is sometimes referred to as the German Paul Morphy by some people, but that's not really important for this game. So let's dive straight into it and see why this is so impressive and why I was so confused when I first started preparing it. So Anderssen has the white pieces and he opens with e4. We have e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. The Italian game is on the board. Bishop to c5, and you guys of course know what comes next when Anderssen is wielding the white pieces. Of course, b4. The Evans Gambit is on the board, the strongest ever opening invented by man. Bishop captures on b4, accepting the gambit, c3, and the bishop back to c5. Now there are a lot of possible retreats with the bishop. For those of you who don't know, I did make a video on the Evans Gambit, so if you guys are interested, I covered pretty much all of the bishop's retreats, not that one, in the video, so it will be the first link in the description below if you want to check that out as well. But here, of course, both of these guys know this very well. So Anderssen just castles, we have d6, and Anderssen strikes in the center with d4. E captures on d4, c captures on d4, and now bishop to b6. Of course, not bishop to b4, trying to prevent white from playing rook to e1, which seems like a good idea, but then just d5 and you're lost, because now you either give up the knight or the knight moves and then queen a4 check picks up the bishop. So the bishop has to go to b6, even though Anderssen had one opponent that actually played bishop to b4. But okay, here bishop to b6, we have d5 challenging the knight, knight to a5 attacking the bishop, and now another lesson of how to not play automatic moves, bishop to b2. So here you might think, okay, my opponent is attacking my bishop, I should either defend it or move it, but Anderssen says, nope, development comes first. First bishop to b2, and now black is the one that has to react, because if knight captures on c4, we're gonna grab the pawn on g7 and then pick up the rook on f8, on h8. So here, knight to f6, blocking the bishop, and now, only now, we bring the bishop back to d3 while defending our e4 pawn. So bishop to g4, Schulle says, all right, I'm just gonna nicely develop my bishop, not allow your knight to move, and you really don't have all that much here. So Anderssen plays knight to c3, and here comes c6. C6, challenging the center here, and this is sort of a new move, but not really, as like I said, two of them have played this position not once but twice. Anderssen plays knight to e2. He wants to shift the knight over to the attack with moves like knight to g3, and here you could consider capturing on f3, but if g captures on f3, white has a very strong center. There's not all that much black achieved here, other than giving up the bishop pair here. White will play king to h1, rook is coming to g1, white will have immense pressure over the king side here. So instead, Schulle just castles, and now we have queen to d2. Now Anderssen is ready to bring the queen in via the dark squares, and this is where things get very, very interesting. So here we have rook to c8, but this is the move that was played in this game, and we're also going to cover the other game where an improvement was found to this move, because this didn't work out all that well for Mr. Schulle. So let's see what happens here. After rook to c8, Anderssen brings the queen in, queen to g5. Now you can see that something is bound to happen on the g7 square, but white says, okay, for the moment you don't have any threats. Bishop captures on f3, g captures on f3, and c captures captures on d5. What are you even doing here, Mr. Anderssen? So here, king to h1. He wants to play rook to g1, put even more pressure on the pawn. And here you absolutely have to play knight to e8 and add a defender to the g7 pawn. But Suhle says, all right, I can do this anytime. I'm just going to play knight to c4 and attack one of the attackers of the g7 pawn. So first you have to react to this, and then I'm going to deal with the g7 pawn. But Anderssen just plays rook to g1. Now he threatens mate on g7, and Suhle says, all right, now I'm going to play knight to e8 because you're kind of really forcing me to. So here, knight to e8, and not only am I defending g7, but also I'm offering a queen trade. The problem for Suhle is that Anderssen has a forced checkmate in 5 here, so feel free to pause the video and win this game for Anderssen while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on realizing that the g7 pawn is not really defended all that well. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is queen captures on g7. And that's right, Anderssen always finds a way to sacrifice his queen. Knight captures on g7, this is the only move, and now rook captures on g7. King to h8, and now again Anderssen shows us how to always attack with absolute precision. The problem is, yes, you are threatening a lot of very nasty discoveries. The problem is, even if you could deliver check without the bishop being captured, still this f6 move is playable, and then both the rook and the queen will be guarding the f6 square. So how do you play this? It's actually a mate in 3 from here. There's only one way to do it, and that is rook to g8. We do a double check, and as they say, even the bravest king flees in the face of a double check. So now you have to capture the rook. There's no other move. King captures rook on g8, and now rook to g1 check. And now you are checking the king while also preventing him from going to the dark squares. And now there is only one move for black, that is queen to g5, and after this Anderssen just captures it with the rook, and this is now rook captures on g5 checkmate. So brilliant game. Only 23 moves brought to you by none other than the Evans Gambit, wielded by one of the greatest players ever of the Evans Gambit, Adolf Anderssen. But now let's go to the game that I actually wanted to show you, and that is after this queen to d2 move was played. Here in this game, rook to c8 was played, and you've seen that it didn't really work out all that great for Suhle. So here he throws in an improvement. Like I said, I don't know the time the difference between the two games. Could be a year, could be a couple of months, could be later in the afternoon, so it's not really specified. So here, instead of rook to c8, we have knight back to d7, and now, okay, his idea is clear. He's not allowing queen to g5. Now his queen is guarding the g5 square, and he says, all right, this is a great improvement. I'm looking forward to the rest of the game very much. Anderssen now plays queen to f4, saying that, okay, I still have immense pressure over the king side. Look at my bishops, my knights are coming into the game, the queen is very nicely placed. I'm attacking your bishop here, and well, if you've seen what happened in the previous game, and Suhle definitely has, he does not want to open up the g file for the rook, and this might explain his retreating the bishop here, because you do want to capture here. Captures, queen captures, then maybe bring the queen over with queen to g5. So there are many ideas here. However, last game didn't end all that great for him, so he goes back bishop to h5. He wants to put the bishop on g6 and then use it as a defender. But now knight g3, bishop to g6, and now the move Anderssen is famous for, rook 8 to d1. If you've seen Anderssen's evergreen game, then rook 8 to d1 is a move you know all too well. But if you haven't seen it, do check it out, either by checking out the original evergreen game or by checking out the Magnus versus Max Deutsch game. They are the exact same game. So here, c captures on d5. Black says, you've got nothing here. That's a ridiculous move. We have e captures on d5, now opening up the light square bishop, but also black can just capture this bishop if black wants to. But black wants more here. Knight to c5, attacking the bishop on d3, and now the bishop is attacked twice. So what do you do here? Anderssen continues going forward. Knight to f5, as the quote says, attack, always attack. And now it's black to move. The g7 pawn is being threatened, so how can black go about this position? Well, the only possible way to play this, and it's an ugly one, is to play f6, but still black's position is already incredibly bad. Here knight captures on d3 was played, and now again we've reached a position from the thumbnail, so you guys know what's happening here. Here Anderssen just played queen to h6, and it was in this position on move 20 that Berthold resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. There is checkmate being threatened on g7, the knight attacks g7, the bishop attacks g7, and there is absolutely nothing black can do here. If you try capturing the queen, then just knight captures on h6 is checkmate, as the dark squares are covered by the bishop. And if you don't capture the queen, there's, well, really not all that much you can do. The only way to defend the pawn is by something like queen f6, bishop d4, but those are just moves that you can throw in and get checkmated a few moves later. So interestingly, this game Anderssen finishes in 20 moves, unlike the previous one that we've seen that he finished in 23 moves. So even with this incredible improvement, instead of rook to c8, Suhle playing knight to d7, which is actually the strongest move recommended by the engine, and it gives black the advantage. Anderssen not only wins the game again, he wins it with a queen sacrifice, and it took him 3 moves less than it did in the original game. So incredible guy, this Adolf Anderssen, just playing the Evans Gambit like that, and whatever the opponent throws at him, you know, the strongest moves recommended by the engine, he still just mounts the attack and you know, finishes off the game with a beautiful queen sacrifice. But this is just proved that Anderssen was a brilliant attacker, definitely ahead of his time, and also that maybe the quality and technique of defense back in 1860 was not up to today's standards. But that of course I'm very happy that it's like that, because if it wasn't, if everyone was defending perfectly like they do today most of the times, then we would not have all of these amazing games with such amazing sacrifices. So yeah, that's the game, or rather the games. I hope you guys enjoyed them both. Thank you to Goran Marčić for recommending such a beauty. I would like to wish a very happy birthday to Mehmet from FTM and NBSP. There was a lot more written here, but I couldn't fit all of it in. And I would like to thank Doror Alumot, Wesley Lufborough, Andrei Shrade, and Andra Lazaroiu for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. Andra actually contributed to Medo, as today is actually Medo's 15th birthday. So he's a very old dude. I always joke around that he's ancient, that no one knows how old he is. But today is actually his 15th birthday. He's currently sleeping. Medo, if you want to say something to the good people of the channel, now's your opportunity. There we go. Nope. All right, so at least he woke up so you can see his face. But yeah, we had a long walk today. He had a very nice piece of cake. It was a very healthy cake, as he is pretty old, so he has to watch out what he eats. But he spent the day well, but most of the time he is napping. So yeah, once again, hope you guys enjoyed it. Brilliant stuff from Adolf Anderssen as usual. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions such as this one and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day, and always play the Evans Gambit. Do check out the tutorial in the description below. See you soon.